Winn Sanderson, born December 19, 1975, is an American author of high fantasy and science fiction. The purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. You see, that is the sad, terrible thing about sarcasm. It's really funny. Elend, I kind of lost track of time. Breeze. For 2 hours, Elend. There were bucks involved. It's easy to believe in something when you win all the time. The losses are what define a man's faith. But you can't kill me, Lord Tyrant. I represent that one thing you've never been able to kill. No matter how hard you try, I am hope. Honor is dead, but I'll see what I can do. Sometimes the prize is not worth the costs. The means by which we achieve victory are as important as the victory itself. Sometimes a hypocrite is nothing more than a man in the process of changing. I've always been very confident in my maturity. Our belief is often strongest when it should be weakest. That is the nature of hope. To lack feeling is to be dead, but to act on every feeling is to be a child. Mocking a woman is like drinking too much wine. It may be fun for a short time, but the hangover is hell. I'm not really sure why, but do you stop loving someone just because they betray you? I don't think so. That's what makes the betrayal hurt so much pain, frustration, anger, and I still loved her. I still do. The most important step a man can take is not the first one, is it? It's the next one. Always the next step. Downer. Expectations were like fine pottery. The harder you held them, the more likely they were to crack. My behavior is nonetheless deplorable. Unfortunately, I'm quite prone to such bouts of deplorability. Take, for instance, my fondness for reading books at the dinner table. Somebody has to start. Somebody has to step forward and do what is right, because it is right. To love the journey is to accept no such end. I have found, through painful experience, that the most important step a person can take is always the next one. Good men don't become legends, he said quietly. Good men don't need to become legends. She opened her eyes, looking up at him. They just do what's right anyway. Accept the pain, but don't accept that you deserved it. If you give up what you want most for what you think you should want more, you'll end up miserable. He sighed in her eyes, the anguish, the frustration, the terrible nothing that clawed inside and sought to smother her. She knew It was there, inside. She had been broken. Then she smiled. Oh, storms. She smiled anyway. It was the single most beautiful thing he'd seen in his entire life. I try to avoid having thoughts. They lead to other thoughts, and if you're not careful, those lead to actions. Actions make you tired. I have this on rather good authority from someone who once read it in a book. I will take responsibility for what I have done. Dalliner whispered, if I must fall, I will rise each time a better man. If you're always on time, it implies that you never have anything better you should be doing. In the end, all men die. How you lived will be far more important to the Almighty than what you accomplished. Do not let your assumptions about a culture block your ability to perceive the individual, or you will fail. Strength does not make one capable of rule. It makes one capable of service. The question, she replied, is not whether you will love, hurt, dream, and die. It is what you will love, why you will hurt, when you will dream, and how you will die. This is your choice. You cannot pick the destination, only the path. It was amazing how many books one could fit into a room, assuming one didn't want to move around very much. The mark of a great man is one who knows when to set aside the important things in order to accomplish the vital ones. We follow the codes not because they bring gain, but because we lose the people we would otherwise become. Lately, I feel like my life is a book written in a language I don't know how to read. Never throw the first punch. If you have to throw the second, try to make sure they don't get up for a third. Yes, I began my journey alone, and I ended it alone, but that does not mean that I walked alone. "10 spears go to battle," he whispered, "and 9 shatters. Did the war forge the one that remained? No, Amaran. All the war did was identify the spear that would not break." The right belief is like a good cloak, I think. If it fits you well, it keeps you warm and safe. The wrong fit, however, can suffocate. A woman's strength should not be in her role, whatever she chooses to be, but in the power to choose that role. This world, it is a tempest sometimes, but remember, the sun always rises again. Jasna had once defined a fool as a person who ignored information because it disagreed with desired results. "That's the funny thing about arriving somewhere, then," he said with a wink. "Once you are there, the only thing you can really do is leave again." This is life, and I will not lie by saying every day will be sunshine, but there will be sunshine again, and that is a very different thing to say. That is truth. You tried to help the people of the market. You mostly failed. This is life. The longer you live, the more you fail. Failure is the mark of a life well lived. In turn, the only way to live without failure is to be of no use to anyone. Trust me, I've practiced. Words are where most change begins. I write these words in steel, for anything not set in metal cannot be trusted. You get to choose who you are. Legacy, memories of the past, can serve us well, but we cannot let them define us. When heritage becomes a box instead of an inspiration, it has gone too far. Faith means that it doesn't matter what happens. You can trust that somebody is watching. Trust that somebody will make it all right. Too many of us take great pains with what we ingest through our mouths, and far less with what we partake of through our ears and eyes. Hello, a cheerful voice said in his mind. Would you like to destroy some evil today? Life breaks us, theft. Then we fill the cracks with something stronger. People need stories, child. They bring us hope, and that hope is real. If that's the case, what does it matter whether people in them actually lived? Overcome your guilt. Care, but not too much. Take responsibility, but don't blame yourself. Protect, save, help, but know when to give up. They're precarious ledges to walk. How do I do it? Do not dash if you only have the strength to walk, and do not waste your time pushing on the walls that will not give. More importantly, don't shove where a pat would be sufficient. The trick to happiness wasn't in freezing every momentary pleasure and clinging to each one, but in ensuring one's life would produce many future moments to anticipate. It has always seemed to me that a coward is a person who cares more about what people say than about what is right. Bravery isn't about what people call you, Spencer. It's about who you know yourself to be. To live is to have worries and uncertainties. Keep them inside, and they will destroy you for certain, leaving behind a person so calloused that emotion can find no root in his heart. An excuse is what you make after the deed is done, while a justification is what you offer before. For now, I only wish to make a simple acknowledgement of the woman who held the power just before me. Of all of us who touched it, I feel she was the most worthy. Definitely not you optimists just can't understand that a depressed person doesn't want you to try and cheer them up. It makes us sick. A man's emotions are what define him, and control is the hallmark of true strength. To lack feeling is to be dead, but to act on every feeling is to be a child. I will protect even those I hate, Kaladin whispered through bloody lips, so long as it is right. Expectation wasn't just about what people expected of you, it was about what you expected of yourself. Aim for the sun. That way if you miss, At least your arrow will fall far away, and the person it kills will likely be someone you don't know. Our weakness doesn't make us weak. Our weakness makes us strong, for we had to carry it all these years. For glory lit and life alive, for goals unreached and aims to strive, all men must try, the wind did see. It is the test, it is the dream. We remember the good times and the bad ones, forgetting that most times are neither good nor bad. They just are. A hero does not choose her trials. She steps into the darkness, then she faces what comes next. No one ever accomplished anything by being content with who they were, Shalon Adeline said. We accomplish great things by reaching toward who we could become, as long as it's what you want to become, not what someone else thinks you should become. She had a way of pouring everything of herself into what she did. When she fought, she was the blade. When she loved, she was the kiss. In that regard, she was far more human than any I have known. Power was an illusion of perception, as Jasna had said. The first step to being in control was to see yourself as capable of being in control. In my painful experience, the truth may be simple, but it is rarely easy. The problem with being clever, Serene thought with a sigh, is that everyone assumes you are always planning something. Plan every battle as if you will inevitably retreat, but fight every battle like there is no backing down. You will find that hate can unify people more quickly and more fervently than devotion ever could. Enjoy memories, yes, but don't be a slave to who you wish you once had been. Some people charged toward the goal, running for all they had. Others stumbled, but it wasn't the speed that mattered, it was the direction they were going. I say that there is no role for women, there is, instead, a role for each woman, and she must make it for herself. The law is not something holy, son. It's just a reflection of the ideals of those lucky enough to be in charge. The difference between good and evil men is not found in the acts they are willing to commit, but merely in what name they are willing to commit them in. There are no endings, and never will be endings, to the turning of the wheel of time, but it was an ending. I seek the truth, Shalon said. Wherever it may be, whoever may hold it, that's who I am. Kaladin's anxiety began to subside, and he pushed through the worst of the darkness. He always emerged on the other side. Why was that so difficult to remember while in the middle of it? Control yourself, she told herself forcibly. Become someone who can deal with this. She took a deep breath and let herself become someone else. An imitation of herself who was calm, even in a situation like this. It was a crude forgery, just a trick of the mind. but it worked. Then, why can't you see? This isn't about good or evil. Morality doesn't even enter into it. Good men will kill as quickly for what they want as evil men, only the things they want are different. You've managed in our short 3 years together to kill not only my God, but my father, my brother, and my fiancé. That's kind of like a homicidal hat trick. It's a strange foundation for a relationship, wouldn't you say? Heroism is a myth you tell idealistic young people specifically when you want them to go bleed for you. Control is the basis of all true power. Authority and strength are matters of perception. Who do you think is stronger? Adeline asked. The man who has walked easily his entire life, or the man with no legs, the man who must pull himself by his arms? Even small actions have consequences, and while we can often choose our actions, we rarely get to choose our consequences. One of the great tragedies of life is knowing how many people in the world are made to soar, paint, sing, or steer, except they never get the chance to find out. If the afterlife really is a big war, Kaladin said, then I hope I end up in damnation. At least there I might be able to get a wink or two of sleep. No matter how good you were, someone was better. Live by that knowledge, and you would never grow so confident that you become sloppy. Death comes to all, but life comes first. Cherish it. Death is the destination, but the journey, that is life. That is what matters. Do you stop loving someone just because they betray you? I don't think so. That's what makes the betrayal hurt so much pain, frustration, anger, and I still loved her. I still do. To age truly was to suffer the ultimate treason, that of one's body against oneself. Is human nature to believe that other places and other times are better than the here and now? Using a fetching face to make men do as you wish is no different from a man using muscle to force a woman to his will. Both are base, and both will fail a person as they age. Beauty was out there, all around. To create art was not to capture it, but to participate in it. The measure of a person is not how much they have lived, it's in how they make use of what life has shown them. Suddenly, Vin grew pale. Elin paused, glancing at her, sensing that something was wrong. Not with what he'd said, something else. What is it? Assassins, mist spirits, Colossus. I just realized something, Vince said, looking at him with those intense eyes of hers. I can go to a ball, I didn't bring a gown. I need something, wax, a place to look. You always did the thinking. Yes, having a brain helps with that, surprisingly. He fought as he wished he had all those years ago, for the chance he had missed. In that moment between storms when the rain stilled and the winds drew in their breaths to blow, he danced with the slate of kings and somehow held his own. It might be said that Tress had a way with words, in that her words tended to get in her way. Do you know how many grand romances would have avoided tragedy if the hero had thought, you know, maybe I should ask her if she likes me first? It's a common mistake to assume that someone is weak because they are accommodating. If you think this, you might be the type who has no idea how much effort, how much strength it takes to put up with your nonsense. You don't have to smile. You don't have to talk. But if you're going to be miserable, you might as well do it with friends. If bravery is the wind that makes us soar like kites, fear is the string that keeps us from going too far. Don't try to stop yourself from feeling. You'll hate who you become. I'm wondering if every person I pass has similar depths, and if there's any way to avoid judging them so shallowly that I'm rocked when they show their true complexity. In the end, I stopped worrying about how strange you seemed. I realized it didn't matter if I understood you because I trusted you. Humans can see the world as it is not. It is why your lies can be so strong. You are able to not admit that they are lies. I find nothing more frightening than a man trying to do what he has decided is important. Very little in the world has ever gone astray, at least on a grand scale, because a person decided to be frivolous. Proper loafing requires company. One man lying about is being idle. Two men lying about is a lunch break. My other hand, Lopin said, the one that was cut off long ago, eaten by a fearsome beast. It is making a rude gesture toward you right now. I thought you would want to know, so you can prepare to be insulted. A boring truth will always have difficulty competing with an exciting lie. All people are musicians, wit counted. The question is whether or not they share their songs. Remember why we live. Remember warmth. Remember good food. Remember friends and song and evenings spent around the hearth. You don't stop loving someone just because they hurt you. It would certainly make things easier if you did. No, freedom was not lack of responsibilities. It was being able to do what was right, without having to worry if it was also wrong. Every time I turn around, it seems the world has changed somehow. Beyond that, memories have a way of changing us, souring or sweetening over time like a brew we drink, then recreate later by taste, only getting the ingredients mostly right. You can't taste a memory without tainting it with who you have become. Nearly everything that happened had happened before. The grand lesson of history. Doesn't matter how good your bullets are if you don't aim carefully. Well, parents have to say things like that. They're required to see the best in their children. Otherwise, living with the little sociopaths would drive a person mad. Stealing regular stuff was no fun. She wanted a real challenge. Over the last 2 years, she'd picked the most difficult places to enter. Then she'd snuck in and eaten their dinners. Men are more resilient than that, I think. Our belief is often strongest when it should be weakest. That is the nature of hope. Zane didn't make sense. He didn't have to. That was, perhaps, one of the advantages of being insane. They say they give their women more freedom, but there's still the impression that the freedom was theirs to give in the first place. Bright Lord Adeline insisted, so long as you were in here, he wouldn't leave. We tried to stop him, but the man's a prince. We can't storming make him do anything, not even leave. He locked himself away in the cell, and we just had to live with it. I will protect even those I hate, Kaladin whispered through bloody lips, so long as it is right. Of course not. I'd have shot you right in the head, Wayne. You're a good friend, Wayne said. Thanks, Wax. You're the only person I know that I can cheer up by promising to kill him. You're not worse for your association with the world, but it is better for its association with you. We need both heart and mind. Liren said, the heart might provide the purpose, but the head provides the method, the path. Passion is nothing without a plan. Wanting something doesn't make it happen. You make it sound like having the power to change the world is a bad thing. Bad. No. Abhorrent. Depressing. Ghastly. Having power is a terrible burden, the worst thing imaginable, except for every other alternative. Brightness, the man said as she stepped up to him. We are what you think we are. No, Shallan replied. You aren't what you think yourselves to be. Two blind men waited at the end of an era, contemplating beauty. They sat atop the world's highest cliff, overlooking the land and seeing nothing. Lem nodded. It is, but a terrible idea executed brilliantly has to be better than a brilliant idea executed terribly. I mean, look at pelicans. Fine, Navani said. I hope when you die knowing your homeland is doomed, your family's enslaved, your queen executed, you feel satisfied knowing that at least you maintained a slight market advantage. Heroism is often the seemingly spontaneous result of a lifetime of preparation. What is it? Marasi said angrily. That small-minded men must destroy that which they know is better and greater than they. No army, no matter how clean its reputation, walked away from war untainted, and no leader, no matter how noble, could help but sink into the creme when he stepped into the game of conquest. Once the soul grows accustomed to the wound, it's much harder to fix. It frightens me, Shalon said, because we all see the world by some kind of light personal to us, and that light changes our perception. I don't see clearly. I want to, but I don't know if I ever truly can. If the journey itself is indeed the most important piece, rather than the destination itself, then I traveled not to avoid duty but to seek it. Few men have the wisdom to realize when they need help. Fewer still have the strength to go get it. It's what happens when you shoot someone, Wayne pointed out. At least, usually someone has the good sense to get dead when you go to all the trouble to shoot them. That a thing is hated is not proof that it's great art, but the lack of hatred is certainly proof that it is not. Just because you've had misfortune in your past doesn't mean you have to give up on your future. Empathy is an emotional loss leader. It pays for itself eventually. You had to adapt, move, change. That was good, but it could also threaten identity, connection, and sense of purpose. Exhaustion, Dalliner said, pain, suffering. This is what victory usually feels. Never let something trivial, like a sense of humor, get in the way of a good joke. He was 6.5 feet tall and had a jaw so straight it made other men question if they were. People think I know a lot about women. The truth is, I know how to get them, how to make them laugh, how to make them interested. I don't know how to keep them. He hesitated. I really want to keep this one. To be human is to seek beauty, Shalon. Do not despair. Do not end the hunt because thorns grow in your way. Breath. A man's breath was his life. Exhaled, bit by bit, back into the world. Kaladin breathed deeply, eyes closed, and for a time that was all he could hear. His own life, in, out, to the beating of the thunder in his chest. Breath. His own little storm. I'm an expert on one-armed Herdasian jokes. Lopin, my mother always says, you must learn to laugh before others do. Then you steal the laughter from them and have it all for yourself. Our words, like our hearts, are weapons still hot from the forging, beating themselves into new shapes each time we swing them. If nobody asked questions, then we would never learn anything. In Kaladin's eyes, there was no sin greater than the betrayal of one's allies in battle, except, perhaps, for the betrayal of one's own men of murdering them after they risked their lives to protect you. Strength before weakness. He was coming to understand that part of his first oath. He had discovered weakness in himself, but that wasn't something to be ashamed of. Because of that weakness, he could help in ways nobody could. Men often described a girl as having hair the color of wheat. Others called it the color of caramel, or occasionally the color of honey. The girl wondered why men so often used food to describe women's features. There was a hunger to such men that was best avoided. Just for that, I shall hunt your firstborn and laugh with glee as I tell them of your death in terrible detail, with many unpleasant adjectives. You have an odd sense of morality, mistress. Don't be stupid, she said. Every sense of morality is odd. She wore trousers because skirts were stupid, and boots because stuff needed to be kicked. Winn claimed to have memorized the names of all of the different possible combinations of twin-born. Of course, Winn also claimed to have once stolen a horse that belched in perfect musical notes, so one learned to take what he said with a pinch of copper. With a few tips, he wasn't so boring after all. Secretly, I'll tell you that you aren't either. Anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to lower your value. Don't trust them. They know they can't afford you otherwise. She stuck her tongue out at him, a totally rational and reasonable way to fight a demigod. You can't taste a memory without tainting it with who you have become. Ned, she said. Stupid is stupid. No, it's not. You're talking to an expert. Have you ever had to choose between two equally distasteful choices? Every day I choose to keep breathing. Whenever one does discover a moment of joy, beauty enters the world. Human beings, we can't create energy. We can only harness it. We can't create matter. We can only shape it. We can't even create life. We can only nurture it. I'm so storming clever that half the time, even I can follow what I'm talking about. But I still wondered, if we didn't matter as individuals, then what were we saving the group for? Trauma doesn't decrease with company, but it does grow easier to work through when you know someone else understands. She wasn't even certain she was Tress anymore, or if she'd become someone else. You could say, in other words, that her state at the moment was distress. That was why he'd come back. It was about Tien. It was about Dalinar, and it was about what was right, but most of all, it was about protecting people. This was the man he wanted to be. Looks like we're going to need a new prime suspect, Wax, Winn said. This one downright refuses to not be dead already. Who is a better swimmer? Yvail whispered. It's the sailor who has swum his entire life, even if he encounters rough seas that challenge him. Who is the stronger man? It is the man who must pull himself by his arms. If you want to create heroes, don't give them something to fight for. Give them someone to fight for. But maybe you shouldn't be looking for life to be easier because you choose to do something that is right. The sum total of stupid people is somewhere around a population of the planet, +1. The law is not something holy, son. It's just a reflection of the ideals of those lucky enough to be in charge. Strikes made with precision, a moment of oneness with a weapon. He forgot his worries, forgot his failures, forgot even his rage. Just Kaladin and a spear, as the world was meant to be. Like a man with diarrhea in a sandpaper factory, sometimes all available options are less than ideal. Honor is a word applied to the actions of men from the past who have had their lives scrubbed clean by historians. The wisest of men know that to render an insult powerless, you often need only to embrace it. So much evil, Nightblood said, like a woman tisking as she cleaned cobwebs from her ceiling. You should never debate an idiot, Shallan. No more than you'd use your best sword to spread butter. But merely being tradition does not make something worthy, Kadesh. We can't just assume that because something is old it is right. Religion worried him. It could ask men to do things they'd otherwise never do. Can something be almost an accident? Pattern asked, genuinely curious. But after spending ages walking around with everyone piling bricks in your arms, it can throw you off balance when someone removes a brick to carry for you. Nothing else dangerous we could find, other than Wayne's body odor. That's the smell of incredibleness, Wayne called from inside. If you knew the history of that flute, it would make your brain flip upside down, and by that I mean that I would shiv you off the carriage for having spied on me. Cadsuane, do you believe that I could kill you, right here, right now, without using a sword or the power? Do you believe that if I simply willed it, the pattern would bend around me and stop your heart? By coincidence. But here's the thing. The lies we tell, the dreams we create, they're not real. We can't let them be real. This might be the hardest lesson you have to learn. El propósito del cuando no es de ser como pensar, sino planear dudas que haven reflexionar, demasiado a menudo, lo olvidamos. I'm sorry, Father, Kaladin said. Sorry, for what? I thought your way might be correct, Kaladin said, and that I'd been wrong. But I don't think it's that simple. I think we're both correct. For us. Remembering the fallen was important, but working to protect the living was more so. A man is what he has passion about. If you give up what you want most for what you think you should want more, you'll end up miserable. She felt less like a mere human being, and more like a human who was merely being. Sometimes a hypocrite is nothing more than a person who is in the process of changing. I try to avoid having thoughts. They lead to other thoughts, and if you're not careful, those lead to actions. Actions make you tired. I have this on rather good authority from someone who once read it in a book. Blush Weaver. Si simply giziti impo, iso significa ninguétins nada major que hacer. Our accents are clothing for our thoughts, my dear, Wayne said. Without them, everything we say would be stripped bare, and we might as well be screaming at one another, oh. Technically, I was a part owner of that noodle shop. What? Renowned interdimensional storytellers can't invest in a little real estate now and then. If bravery is the wind that makes us soar like kites, fear is the string that keeps us from going too far. We need it, but the thing is, our heritage taught us to fear some of the wrong things. People generally don't know what they want, though they almost uniformly hate being told what it should be. Indeed, the path to a life without empathy is a long and painful one, full of bartered humanity sold at a steep discount. "Hi," he said through a speaker on the front. "I've been resurrected. Do I start a religion now, or do I wait for you to do it for me?" That part has always confused me. But I always felt like I was standing on the other side of a large glass window. I could see the world passing beyond it, could even pretend I was part of it, but that barrier was still there, separating me from everyone else. He looked away. That sounds stupid, doesn't it? It is one of the most bitter ironies I've ever had to accept. There are, unquestionably, musical geniuses of incomparable talent who died as street sweepers because they never had the chance to pick up an instrument. Then she felt ashamed, because guilt has a great number of friends and keeps their addresses handy for quick summons. Someone doesn't need to be the least bit funny to be an utter clown. People are elastic, Wax thought. We can keep reshaping ourselves, and if we're not quite the same as before, well, that's good. It means we can grow. Wayne, you aren't the best I could do. You're the best there is. And no being, neither God nor mortal, could have wished for more than one such as you. My Lord, there is great importance to thee. It should never merely be whatever. Do not let memory chase you. Enjoy memories, yes, but don't be a slave to who you wish you once had been. Those memories aren't alive, you are. You will never find a murderess more intoxicating, more entrancing than the sea. Everything is useless, intrinsically. Nothing has value unless we grant it that value. People, they misunderstood the word accent. They thought accents were those things everybody else had. Fun tip. Being told I kept you in the dark to protect you is not only frustrating but condescending as well. It's a truly economical way to demean someone. If you're looking to fit more denigration into an already busy schedule, give it a try. The past is boring anyway. We always pretend the ideals and culture of the past have aged like wine, but in truth, the ideas of the past tend to age more like biscuits. They simply get stale. She hadn't lost her creativity. She hadn't run out of ideas. She was simply tired. Failed ideas lead to successful ones. Contemplation. They're the only thing that does. I'm almost 90, you know. I was starting to think I wouldn't get to tear down any galactic empires in my lifetime, which would have been positively tragic. She seemed sorry in the same way a tank commander might be apologetic after destroying your house. He might be in the wrong, but he was still in a tank. You remember, you once told me something that made me see the world in an entirely new way, and that was, Tress asked, "Here, try on these spectacles." Lim might have been poor in the kind of currency that paid taxes, but he was downright wealthy when it came to the kind of currency that mattered. That man is a few eggs short of a dozen, and he doesn't realize the other 10 he collected are actually rocks. Worry has weight and is an infinitely renewable resource. One might say worries are the only things you can make heavier simply by thinking about them. Well, this isn't the part of the story where you ask questions, so kindly keep them to yourself. Yes, intellectuals and scholars are paid to think deep thoughts, but those thoughts are often owned by others. Escribo estas palabras en acero, que todo lo que no esté grabado en metal es indigno de confianza. And Rand opened his eyes for the first time in a very long while. He knew somehow that he would never again hear Lews Theron's voice in his head, for they were not two men, and never had been. He's like a rash. The more you scratch him, the more irritating he gets. Maybe we can take a whole lot of little steps that, when looked at together, might seem brilliant to somebody who doesn't know us. Most people, they didn't understand hats, and Wayne didn't really blame them. Until you'd had a good, lucky hat, you wouldn't understand the value of it. I suggest that you never ask her to pass the milk, Wayne added under his breath, so only Waxliam could hear, as she seems likely to throw a cow at you, just to be certain the job is done thoroughly. Did people see how their voices were like living things? Move a plant, and it would change and adapt to the environment around it. Move a person, and the way they talked would grow, adapt, evolve. Sometimes, he said, accomplishment and perception can work independently. The ways of Wayne are mysterious and incomprehensible, Wayne said. What he giveth, he can draw back unto himself. And lo, let it be written and pondered. And Charlie was like a good set of gloves. The longer she spent with him, the more right their time together felt. 'What When I was in there, lost, you were my anchor. You were the lighthouse that brought me home. Rig, I declared to him, I need science. You need therapy. You need better jokes. You need a better sense of humor. We grinned at each other. This is a tale about people who are both what they seem and not what they seem, simultaneously. A story of contradictions. In other words, it is a story about human beings. Most people never live because they're afraid of losing the years they have left. Years that also will be spent not living. The irony of a cautious existence. They all had quirks like that. Personalities, dreams, lives. Human beings are like the shorelines of continents. The closer you look, the more detail you see. Basically, into infinity. Who cares? Yes, it's all in my head. But pain is all in my head too. Love is all in my head. All the things that matter in life are the things you can't measure. The things our brains make up. Being made up doesn't make them unimportant. Don't be a slave to who you wish you had once been. Those memories aren't alive, you are. It should be noted that Tress would have made an excellent philosopher. In fact, she had already determined that philosophy wasn't as valuable as she'd assumed, something that takes most great philosophers at least 3 decades to realize. That's kind of what trust is, isn't it? A willful self-delusion. You have to shut out that voice that whispers about betrayal and just hope that your friends aren't going to hurt you. A kiss doesn't need to be good to be valuable. It doesn't serve any real purpose. It's valued solely because of the person you share it with. Or like how people ignore the existential horror that comes from knowing their body is slowly deteriorating every day. Time itself marching them toward oblivion to the cadence of their beating hearts. The human species does need a certain amount of foolhardiness. Without that, people would have been too reasonable to do frightening things like venture close to that very hot orange stuff that turns wood black and makes Tharg's beard smoke. Oppression had changed them in ways that no amount of peace, reformation, or recompense could redeem. Paulo Coelho was born on August 24, 1947 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and attended a Jesuit school. The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion. Change, but start slowly, because direction is more important than speed. When you really want something to happen, the whole universe conspires so that your wish comes true. You're not defeated when you lose. You're defeated when you quit. Life is too short to be wasted in finding answers. Enjoy the questions. Sometimes life is very mean. A person can spend days, weeks, months, and years without feeling new. Then, when a door opens, a positive avalanche pours in. One moment, you have nothing. The next, you have more than you can cope with. Don't give to anyone the power to put you down. Haters are losers pretending to be winners. Our life is a constant journey, from birth to death. The landscape changes, the people change, our needs change, but the train keeps moving. Life is the train, not the station. We have to stop and be humble enough to understand that there is something called mystery. One day you will wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you've always wanted. Do it now. What makes people weak? Their need for validation and recognition, their need to feel important. Don't get caught in this trap. What is success? It is being able to go to bed each night with your soul at peace. The simple things are also the most extraordinary things, and only the wise can see them. If everybody loves you, something is wrong. Find at least one enemy to keep you alert. Never save the best for later. You don't know what tomorrow holds. If you want to be successful, you must respect one rule: never lie to yourself. Perfect people don't drink, don't fight, don't lie, don't make mistakes, and don't exist. Forgive, but do not forget, or you will be hurt again. Forgiving changes perspectives. Forgetting loses the lesson. Each morning brings a hidden blessing, a blessing which is unique to that day, and which cannot be kept or reused. If we do not use this miracle today, it will be lost. Life sometimes separates people so that they can realize how much they mean to each other. There is only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. Close some doors today, not because of pride, incapacity, or arrogance, but simply because they lead you nowhere. Why is patience so important? Because it makes us pay attention. You have two choices: to control your mind or to let your mind control you. Don't waste your time with explanations. People only hear what they want to hear. Today, don't beg, don't ask, just thank God in silence for all the blessings in your life. Don't allow your mind to tell your heart what to do. The mind gives up easily. Trust and start walking. We are not alone in the dark. Our path will unfold as we move. Anyone who has lost something they thought was theirs forever finally comes to realize that nothing really belongs to them. The future belongs to God, and it is only He who reveals it, under extraordinary circumstances. Don't expect to get anything back. Don't expect recognition for your efforts. Don't expect your genius to be discovered or your love to be understood. Act because you need to act. The boat is safer anchored at the port, but that's not the aim of boats. To believe in your choice, you don't need to prove that other people's choices are wrong. Start doing what you want to do, and everything else will be revealed to you. No one loses anyone, because no one owns anyone. That is the true experience of freedom, having the most important thing in the world without owning it. When we least expect it, life sets us a challenge to test our courage and willingness to change. To teach is to show what is passable. To learn is to make yourself passable. And one has to understand that braveness is not the absence of fear, but rather the strength to keep on going forward despite the fear. Disappointment, defeat, and despair are the tools God uses to show us the way. Useful men who do useful things don't mind being treated as useless, but the useless always judge themselves as being important and hide all their incompetence behind authority. Sadness does not last forever when we walk in the direction of that which we always desired. Sorrows do not last forever when we are journeying towards the thing we have always wanted. Live the life you always wanted to live. Avoid criticizing others and concentrate on fulfilling your dreams. Life takes us by surprise and orders us to move toward the unknown even when we didn't want to and when we think we didn't need to. Find someone who makes you smile, because it only takes a smile to make a day better. Every human being has a personal legend to be fulfilled, and this is our reason for being in the world. This personal legend manifests itself in our enthusiasm for the task. Anything a man does can bring him closer to the supreme wisdom, as long as he works with love in his heart. In love, no one can harm anyone else. We are each responsible for our own feelings and cannot blame someone else for what we feel. If you spend too much time trying to find out what is good or bad about someone else, you'll forget your own soul and end up exhausted and defeated by the energy you have wasted in judging others. We are not the person other people wish we were. We are who we decide to be. Don't listen to the malicious comments of those friends who, never taking any risks themselves, can only see other people's failures. The best way to live a miserable life is to pay attention to what other people are saying about you. You deserve all the good things that happen to you. Don't feel guilty and accept the blessings. When you find your path, you must not be afraid. You need to have sufficient courage to make mistakes. Disappointment, defeat, and despair are the tools God uses to show us the way. The two hardest tests on the spiritual road are the patience to wait for the right moment and the courage not to be disappointed with what we encounter. There are moments when troubles enter our lives and we can do nothing to avoid them, but they are there for a reason. Only when we have overcome them will we understand why they were there. When you say yes to others, make sure you are not saying no to yourself. I don't see any reason why I should look for someone who never took the trouble to love me. There are neither winners nor losers. There are only stages that must be gone through. When the human heart understands this, it is free and able to accept difficult times without being deceived by moments of glory. One of many ways to be useful is to inspire people to forget some rules imposed by society. Important rules are dictated by our hearts. Sometimes we have only 10 minutes to be with the love of our life and thousands of hours to spend thinking about them. We are travelers on a cosmic journey, stardust, swirling and dancing in the eddies and whirlpools of infinity. Life is eternal. We have stopped for a moment to encounter each other, to meet, to love, to share. This is a precious moment. It is a little parenthesis in eternity. The more in harmony with yourself you are, the more joyful you are, and the more faithful you are. Faith is not to disconnect you from reality. It connects you to reality. How people treat other people is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. The great problem with poisoning by bitterness was that the passions hatred, love, despair, enthusiasm, curiosity also ceased to manifest themselves. After a while, the embittered person felt no desire at all. They lacked the will either to live or to die. That was the problem. Fortunate are those who take the first step. Someday people will realize that men and women are capable of speaking the language of the angels, that all of us are possessed of the gifts of the Holy Spirit, and that we can perform miracles, cure, prophesy, and understand. If you force yourself to be the same as everyone else, it causes neuroses, psychosis, and paranoia. It's a distortion of nature. It goes against God's laws. For in all the world's woods and forests, He did not create a single leaf the same as another. People are afraid to pursue their most important dreams because they feel that they don't deserve them, or that they'll be unable to achieve them. Ever since your goal found out that you were traveling toward it, it has been running to meet you. The person who is right is the person who is the strongest. In this case, paradoxically, it's the cowards who are the brave ones, and they manage to impose their ideas on everyone else. Love is an untamed force. When we try to control it, it destroys us. When we try to imprison it, it enslaves us. When we try to understand it, it leaves us feeling lost and confused. The eyes are the mirror of the soul and reflect everything that seems to be hidden. And like a mirror, they also reflect the person looking into them. I have inside me the winds, the deserts, the oceans, the stars, and everything created in the universe. We were all made by the same hand, and we have the same soul. Everyone's looking for the perfect teacher, but although their teachings might be divine, teachers are all too human, and that's something people find hard to accept. Don't confuse the teacher with a lesson, the ritual with the ecstasy, the transmitter of the symbol with the symbol itself. Whoever you are, or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on Earth. Life has many ways of testing a person's will, either by having nothing happen at all or by having everything happen all at once. If I had to give you one piece of advice, it would be this: don't be intimidated by other people's opinions. Blessed are those who do not fear solitude, who are not afraid of their own company, who are not always desperately looking for something to do, something to amuse themselves with, something to judge. Always remember the proverb, "This too shall pass." Your negative feelings won't last forever. There's a light at the end of every tunnel. It might not happen today or tomorrow, but you'll feel better eventually. I carry with me many scars, but I also carry with me moments that would not have happened if I had not dared to go beyond my limits. People never learn anything by being told. They have to find out for themselves. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dream. The magic moment is the moment when a yes or a no can change our whole existence. Even if you're doing the same thing over and over, you need to discover something new, fantastic, and unbelievable that went unnoticed the time before. You will never be able to escape from your heart, so it's better to listen to what it has to say. In a forest of 100,000 trees, no two leaves are alike, and no two journeys along the same path are alike. Enjoy your magic moment today, as it will not be here tomorrow. No matter how many detours and adjustments it made, the caravan moved toward the same compass point. Once obstacles were overcome, it returned to its course, sighting a star that indicated the location of the oasis. No, I'm not mistaken. I know you don't love me, but I'm going to fight for your love. There are some things in life that are worth fighting for to the end. You are worth it. One day you will wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you've always wanted. Do it now. The simple things are also the most extraordinary things, and only the wise can see them. An angel and a devil are always beside us, and the one we listen to more will prevail. This confrontation is what makes life so magical, because you are always challenged by the circumstances. We are good and evil depending on how we act. Time that never ends, that never passes, that remains in the present, where all of life's secrets lie. Everyone seems to have a clear idea of how other people should lead their lives, but none about his or her own. Most experiences provoke a transformation in you, so when you live something, live it fully, because you never know when this is going to happen again. And not only that, if it even happens again, it will not have the same impact. What does learning mean? Accumulating knowledge or transforming your life? Facing the difficulties, I can choose either to be a poor victim or a great adventurer. When a person really desires something, all the universe conspires to help that person to realize his dream. Never hate jealous people. They are jealous because they think you are better than them. Give yourself freedom to try out new things. Don't be so set in your ways that you can't grow. We are afraid of losing what we have, whether it's our life or our possessions and property. But this fear evaporates when we understand that our life stories and the history of the world were written by the same hand. The important thing is to keep the fire in your heart and be strong to overcome hard moments. We will always meet rivals in everything we do, but the most dangerous are those we believe to be our friends. The best way to serve God is by going in search of your own dreams. Only the happy can spread happiness. At this moment, many people have stopped living. They do not become angry nor cry out. They merely wait for time to pass. They did not accept the challenges of life, so life no longer challenges them. Stay close to those who sing, tell stories, and enjoy life, and whose eyes sparkle with happiness, because happiness is contagious and will always manage to find a solution, whereas logic can find only an explanation for the mistake made. We can harness the energy of the winds, the seas, the sun, but the day man learns to harness the energy of love, that will be as important as the discovery of fire. Simple things are the most valuable, and only wise people appreciate them. Love is not to be found in someone else but in ourselves. We simply awaken it, but in order to do that, we need the other person. The universe only makes sense when we have someone to share our feelings with. Profound commitment to a dream does not confine or constrain. It liberates. Even a difficult, winding path can lead to your goal if you follow it to the end. It takes a huge effort to free yourself from memory, but when you succeed, you start to realize that you're capable of far more than you imagined. Listen to your heart. It knows all things because it came from the soul of the world. and it will one day return there. Just try to love and manifest it. When your heart is open, there is this energy of love that flows in, fulfills everything, and somehow transmutes itself into actions. Intense, unexpected suffering passes more quickly than suffering that is apparently bearable. The latter goes on for years and, without our noticing, eats away at our souls, until, one day, we are no longer able to free ourselves from the bitterness and it stays with us for the rest of our lives. Before a new chapter is begun, the old one has to be finished. Tell yourself that what is past will never come back. Remember that there was a time when you could live without that thing or that person. Nothing is irreplaceable. A habit is not a need. When we postpone the harvest, the fruit rots, but when we postpone our problems, they keep on growing. We must struggle for our dreams, but when certain paths prove impossible, it would be best to save our energies in order to travel other roads. How does light enter a house if the windows are open? How does light enter a human if the door of love is open? All my life, I thought of love as some kind of voluntary enslavement. Well, that's a lie. Freedom only exists when love is present. The person who gives him or herself wholly, the person who feels freest, is the person who loves most wholeheartedly. If you live your life fully, you will die only once, but if you are scared, fear will kill you day after day. Shine without guilt. Modesty was invented by the mediocre who think you should be the same as them. Everybody has a creative potential, and from the moment you can express this creative potential, you can start changing the world. It's only those who are persistent and willing to study things deeply who achieve the masterwork. I have seen many storms in my life. Most storms have caught me by surprise, so I had to learn very quickly to look further and understand that I am not capable of controlling the weather, to exercise the art of patience, and to respect the fury of nature. Finding one important thing in your life doesn't mean you have to give up all the other important things. When we love, we always strive to become better than we are. When we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. Whoever wishes to go down a long path must learn that the first lesson is to overcome early disappointments. We can never judge the lives of others, because each person knows only their own pain and renunciation. It's one thing to feel that you are on the right path, but it's another to think that yours is the only path. All you have to do is to pay attention. Lessons always arrive when you are ready, and if you can read the signs, you will learn everything you need to know in order to take the next step. Our soul is governed by four invisible forces: love, death, power, and time. There is only one sin: lack of love. Be brave and be capable of loving, even if love seems a terrible and treacherous thing. Find joy in love. Find joy in victory. Follow the dictates of your heart. From the moment that you feel enthusiastic about everything, you know that you are following your heart. We always have a tendency to see those things that do not exist and to be blind to the great lessons that are right there before our eyes. Laugh at your worries and insecurities. View your anxieties with humor. It will be difficult at first, but you'll gradually get used to it. It's what you do in the present that will redeem the past and thereby change the future. All men are different and should do everything possible to continue to be so. In order to arrive, you must follow the signs. God inscribed on the world the path that each man must follow. It is just a matter of reading the inscription He wrote for you. Love is the only thing that will save us, independent of any mistakes we may make. Love is always stronger. Never give up. When your heart becomes tired, just walk with your legs but move on. To live is to experience things, not sit around pondering the meaning of life. And when you can go back, you have to worry only about the best way of moving forward. Haters are confused admirers who can understand what everybody else likes you. We are human beings. We are born full of guilt. We feel terrified when happiness becomes a real possibility. Anyone who loves in the expectation of being loved in return is wasting their time. Closing cycles, not because of pride, incapacity, or arrogance, but simply because that no longer fits your life. Shut the door, change the record, clean the house, shake off the dust. Stop being who you were and change into who you are. The three classic ways in which the devil tempts us are with a threat, a promise, or a seduction. Go further than you planned. Ask for the moon. You will be surprised how often you get it. The adrenaline and stress of an adventure are better than 1,000 peaceful days. The only faults considered grave are the following: not respecting the rights of one's neighbor, letting oneself be paralyzed by fear, feeling guilty, thinking one does not deserve the good and bad which occurs in life, and being a coward. The visible is always a mirror of the invisible. The reality is imagined before it manifests itself. You can become blind by seeing each day as a similar one. Each day is a different one. Each day brings a miracle of its own. It's just a matter of paying attention to this miracle. No one knows what is going to happen in the next few minutes, and yet people still go forward because they have trust, because they have faith. Joy goes against the foundations of mathematics. It multiplies when we divide. When faced with any loss, there's no point in trying to recover what has been. It's best to take advantage of the large space that opens up before us and fill it with something new. A man has to choose. This is where lies his strength, in the power of his decisions. If you choose to follow the path of your dreams, commit yourself to it. Accept your path. It's always easy to blame others. You can spend your entire life blaming the world, but your successes or failures are entirely your own responsibility. The world we live in will be either better or worse depending on whether we become better or worse. The energy that many people call love is, in fact, the raw material from which the universe was built. If you think small, your world will be small. If you think big, your world will be big. None of us knows what might happen even the next minute, yet still we go forward. Because we trust, because we have faith. Freedom is not the absence of commitments, but the ability to choose and commit myself to what is best for me. Try to live with the same intensity as a child. He doesn't ask for explanations. He dives into each day as if it were a new adventure and, at night, sleeps tired and happy. Waiting is painful, forgetting is painful, but not knowing which to do is the worst kind of suffering. Solitude is not the absence of company, but the moment when our soul is free to speak to us and help us decide what to do with our life. The moment that he begins to walk along it, the warrior of the light recognizes the path. When everything seems to be going well and your dream is almost within your grasp, that is when you must be more alert than ever. It is necessary to run risks, to follow certain paths, and to abandon others. No one can make a choice without feeling fear. My heart might be bruised, but it will recover and become capable of seeing the beauty of life once more. It's happened before. It will happen again, I'm sure. When someone leaves, it's because someone else is about to arrive. I'll find love again. Go for the impossible. I always tried to find my own limits. So far I did not find them, so my universe is in constant expansion. Sometimes, we're so attached to our way of life that we turn down wonderful opportunities simply because don't know what to do with it. If we accept all that is wrong about us and despite it, believe that we are deserving of a happy life, then we will have thrown open an immense window that will allow love to enter. Everybody is a political person, whether you say something or you are silent. A political attitude is not whether you go to parliament, it's how you deal with your life, with your surroundings. Things do not always happen the way I would have wanted. and it's best that I get used to that. When we step out of our normal world and leave behind us all the usual barriers and prejudices, we tend to become more adventurous. Don't let anyone make you feel that you don't deserve the good things that happen in your life. If there is suffering, then it's best to accept it because it won't go away just because you pretend it's not there. If there is joy, then it's best to accept that too, even though you're afraid it might end one day. Anxiety was born in the very same moment as mankind, and since we will never be able to master it, we will have to learn to live with it just as we have learned to live with storms. Of all the ways we have found to hurt ourselves, the worst has been through love. We are always suffering because of someone who doesn't love us, or someone who has left us, or someone who won't leave us if we are alone. It is because no one wants us. Everything which is done in the present affects the future by consequence, and the past by redemption. A warrior trusts other people because, first and foremost, he trusts himself. The energy of hatred won't get you anywhere, but the energy of forgiveness, which reveals itself through love, will transform your life in a positive way. Every day I try to be in communication with the universe in an unconscious way. Sometimes I need to be a stranger to myself. Only then my soul can show me not what I want, but what I need to see. I can control my destiny, but not my fate. Destiny means there are opportunities to turn right or left, but fate is a one-way street. I believe we all have a choice as to whether we fulfill our destiny, but our fate is sealed. Love is a complicated path, and that path can lead us up to heaven or hurl us down into hell. Coincidence is the language of the stars. For something to happen, so many forces have to be put into action. We always know which is the best road to follow, but we follow only the road that we have become accustomed to. Do not ask yourself if your love is big enough, because love is neither big nor small. It is simply love. Defeat ends when we launch into another battle. Failure has no end. It is a lifetime choice. Magical places are always beautiful and deserve to be contemplated. Always stay on the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When something undesirable grows in my soul, I ask God to give me the courage to mercilessly pluck it out. Face your path with courage. Don't be scared of people's criticism. And above all, don't let yourself get paralyzed by your own criticism. Words are tears that have been written down. Tears are words that need to be shed. Without them, joy loses all its brilliance and sadness has no end. Everything tells me that I am about to make a wrong decision. but making mistakes is just part of life. What does the world want of me? Does it want me to take no risks, to go back to where I came from because I didn't have the courage to say yes to life? Don't let yourself be weighed down by what other people think, because in a few years, in a few decades, or in a few centuries, that way of thinking will have changed. Live now what others will only live in the future. Saying no does not always show a lack of generosity, and that saying yes is not always a virtue. A rose dreams of enjoying the company of bees, but none appears. The sun asks, "Aren't you tired of waiting?" "Yes," answers the rose, "but if I close my petals, I will wither and die." No one lights a lamp in order to hide it behind a door. The purpose of light is to create more light, to open people's eyes, to reveal the marvels around. I'm not saying that love always takes you to heaven. Your life can become a nightmare, but that said, it is worth taking the risk. But if we are talking in terms of making progress in life, we must understand that good enough is very different from best. The more attention you pay an enemy, the stronger you make him. Be attentive, but don't be paranoiac. If you accept such love with purity and humility, you will understand that love is neither giving nor receiving, it is participating. I think you can have 10,000 explanations for failure, but no good explanation for success. On your journey to your dream, be ready to face oasis and deserts. In both cases, don't stop. Follow your dreams, transform your life, take the path that leads to God, perform your miracles, cure, make prophecies, listen to your guardian angel, transform yourself, be a warrior, and be happy as you wage the good fight. Take risks. Don't be intimidated by other people's opinions. Only mediocrity is sure of itself, so take risks and do what you really want to do. When we first begin fighting for our dreams, we have no experience and make many mistakes. The secret of life, though, is to fall 7 times and get up 8 times. Learning something means coming into contact with a world of which you know nothing. In order to learn, you must be humble. Intuition is really a sudden immersion of the soul into the universal current of life. A man's dignity isn't measured by the people he has around him when he's at the peak of his success, but by his ability not to forget those who helped him when his need was greatest. Tough times test your valor, persistence, and ability to make decisions. They force you to fight for your dreams. When we are unable to receive, we deny someone else the pleasure of giving. I closed my eyes and let the music flow through me, cleansing my soul of all fear and sin and reminding me that I am always better than I think and stronger than I believe. Emotions are wild horses. It is not explanations that carry us forward, but our will to go on. You must be the person you have never had the courage to be. Gradually, you will discover that you are that person. But until you can see this clearly, you must pretend and invent. This is the first teaching of the Knights. You'll erase everything you had written in the book of your life up until now. Restlessness, uncertainty, lies, and in the place of all this, you will write the word courage. Death is our constant companion, and it is death that gives each person's life its true meaning. If he waits for the ideal moment, he will never set off. He requires a touch of madness to take the next step. The warrior uses that touch of madness, for in both love and war it is impossible to foresee everything. When we boldly seek love, love reveals itself to us, and we end up attracting more love. If one person loves us, everybody loves us. God has a plan for you. You are here in this world because God has a plan for you. And the problem is that people start listening to other people, and they forget to listen to their heart and to see what is the plan that God has for you. Love always triumphs over what we call death. That's why there's no need to grieve for our loved ones, because they continue to be loved and remain by our side. A warrior of light always commits himself. He is enslaved to his dream, but he is free in his steps. Don't think about what you've left behind. Everything is written in the soul of the world, and there it will stay forever. But in the end, all religions point to the same light. In between the light and us, sometimes there are too many rules. The light is here and there are no rules to follow this light. In order to have faith in his own path, he does not need to prove that someone else's path is wrong. Children are always looking at the world as if it was for the first time in their lives. So, we should always look at the world with the eyes of a child. I am not saying be naive. I am saying be innocent in the sense of discovering things. The moment we set off in search of love, it sets off in search of us and saves us. Walk firmly and with joy, without being afraid of stumbling. All your movements are being watched by your allies that will help you when necessary. This is what we call love. When you are loved, you can do anything in creation. When you are loved, there's no need at all to understand what's happening, because everything happens within you. Really important meetings are planned by the souls long before the bodies see each other. Because we managed to keep our hearts open, despite the pain. Because we realized that the person who left us did not take the sun with them or leave darkness in their place. A warrior knows that the ends do not justify the means. Because there are no ends, there are only means. Remember your dreams and fight for them. You must know what you want from life. There is just one thing that makes your dream become impossible: the fear of failure. I've learned that waiting is the most difficult bit, and I want to get used to the feeling, knowing that you're with me, even when you're not by my side. All suffering goes just as it came. So it is with the glories and tragedies of the world. The dangers is that every religion, including the Catholic one, says I have the ultimate truth. Then you start to rely on the priest, the mullah, the rabbi, or whoever to be responsible for your acts. In fact, you are the only one who is responsible. She would consider each day a miracle, which indeed it is, when you consider the number of unexpected things that could happen in each second of our fragile existences. You have to take risks. We will only understand the miracle of life fully when we allow the unexpected to happen. The two worst strategic mistakes to make are acting prematurely and letting an opportunity slip. What is a personal calling? It is God's blessing. It is the path that God chose for you here on earth. Whenever we do something that fills us with enthusiasm, we are following our legend. However, we don't all have the courage to confront our own dream. The great wisdom of life is that we can be masters of the things that try to enslave us. We must never stop dreaming. Dreams provide nourishment for the soul, just as a meal does for the body. Reason lost the battle, and all I could do was surrender and accept I was in love. Every day God gives us the sun, and also the moment in which have the ability to change everything that makes us unhappy. Our magic moment helps us to change and sends us off in search of our dreams. If something happens once, it may never happen again. If it happens twice, it most likely will keep happening. But there is suffering in life, and there are defeats. No one can avoid them, but it's better to lose some of the battles and the struggles for your dreams than to be defeated without ever knowing what you're fighting for. No one ever loses anyone. We are all one soul that needs to continue growing and developing in order for the world to carry on and for us all to meet once again. Keeping a smile on your lips even when you're on the verge of tears. Feeling sorry for those who show their feelings. Our task is not to leave a record of what happened on this date for those who will inherit the earth. History will take care of that. Having the courage to take the steps we always wanted to take is the only way of showing that we trust in God. It's a good idea always to do something relaxing prior to making an important decision in your life. Join with those who sing songs, tell stories, enjoy life, because happiness is contagious. Join those who walk with their heads high even when they have tears in their eyes. Avoid those who have never shed a tear. When life makes us face difficult situations such as a personal loss, we have to understand that eternity is taking one more step. When you want something with all your heart, that's when you are closest to the soul of the world. It's always a positive force. Everything on earth is being continuously transformed because the earth is alive and it has a soul. We are part of that soul, so we rarely recognize that it is working for us. If good things are coming, they will be a pleasant surprise, said the seer. If bad things are, and you know in advance, you will suffer greatly before they even occur. That simple desire to share something meant that we could enter the world of language without words, where everything is always clear and there is no danger of being misinterpreted. Judging yourself to be full of virtue paralyzes. Judging yourself to be full of guilt also paralyzes. You were my hope during my days of loneliness, my anxiety during moments of doubt, my certainty during moments of faith. You're always learning. The problem is, sometimes you stop and think you understand the world. This is not correct. The world is always moving. You never reach the point where you can stop making an effort. Loving means being open to miracles, to victories and defeats, to everything that happens each day that was given us to walk upon the face of the earth. A disciple can never imitate his guide's steps. You have your way of living your life, of dealing with problems, and of winning. Teaching is only demonstrating that it is possible. Learning is making it passable for yourself. The secret of happiness is to see all the marvels of the world, and never to forget the drops of oil on the spoon. You can achieve anything if you believe in yourself, but the opposite is also true. Without strong self-belief, you will not go far. People make a lot of effort not to remember, not to accept their immense magical potential. The biggest mistake of the man is that he thinks he doesn't deserve the good and the bad things from his life. It is part of human nature always to judge others very severely, and, when the wind turns against us, always to find an excuse for our own misdeeds, or to blame someone else for our mistakes. We often don't realize that the extraordinary is to be found in the lives of ordinary people. All the world needs are examples of people capable of living out their dreams and fighting for their ideas. Past and future exist only in our memory. The present moment, though, is outside of time. It's eternity. A warrior is always aware of what is worth fighting for. He does not go into combat over things that do not concern him, and he never wastes his time over provocations. In the cycle of nature, there is no such thing as victory or defeat. There is only movement. Break the glass, please, and free us from all these damned rules. from needing to find an explanation for everything, from doing only what others approve of. Why do so many people choose to spend their whole life destroying paths they didn't even want to follow, instead of following the one path that would lead them somewhere? The gigantic tension before the shooting of an arrow, and the total relaxation seconds later, is my way of connecting to the universe. My turning point was my pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela. It was then that I, who had dedicated most of my life to penetrating the secrets of the universe, realized that there are no secrets. Life is and will always be a mystery. We're allowed to make a lot of mistakes in our lives, except the mistake that destroys us. Be crazy, but learn how to be crazy without being the center of attention. Be brave enough to live differently. Warriors of light are not perfect. Their beauty lies in accepting this fact and still desiring to grow and to learn. Our selfishness will condemn us to the worst suffering that we ourselves have invented: loneliness. When you were in love, you were capable of learning everything and of knowing things you had never dared even to think, because love was the key to understanding all of the mysteries. The power of storytelling is exactly this: to bridge the gaps where everything else has crumbled. I love you because all the loves in the world are like different rivers flowing into the same lake, where they meet and are transformed into a single love that becomes rain and blesses the earth. Long-distance relationships are living proof that love is not just physical. I can feel you next to me even when you're thousands of miles away. Waiting is painful, forgetting is painful, but not knowing which to do is the worst kind of suffering. I simply believe that a book has a journey to make and should not be condemned to being stuck on a shelf. Let's leave our books free to travel, then, to be touched by other hands and enjoyed by other eyes. If you pay close attention to each day, you will discover the magic moment. A responsible warrior is not someone who takes the weight of the world on his shoulders, but someone who has learned to deal with the challenges of the moment. Because when we love, we always strive to become better than we are. A warrior of the light does not rely on strength alone. He makes use of his opponent's energy, too. I opened the window in my heart. The sun flooded my house and love flooded my soul. Before commencing battle, the warrior of light opens his heart and asks God to inspire him. True love does not consist in trying to correct others, but in feeling joy that things are better than we expected. I don't live in either my past or my future. I'm interested only in the present. If you can concentrate always on the present, you'll be a happy man. Life will be a party for you, a grand festival, because life is the moment we're living now. Pain was no longer a cause of suffering, but a source of pleasure, because they were redeeming humanity from its sins. Pain becomes joy, the meaning of life, pleasure. Every man has a feminine side, and every woman has a masculine side. It is important to use discipline with intuition, and to use intuition with objectivity. You have a personal legend to fulfill, period. It is of no matter if others support you, or criticize you, ignore or tolerate you. You're doing that because that is your destiny on this earth and the source of any joy. I think that when we look for love courageously, it reveals itself, and we wind up attracting even more love. If one person really wants us, everyone does. But if we're alone, we become even more alone. Life is strange. Make whatever decision you wish, but never forget one thing. All of you are much better than you believed. Take advantage of the chance that tragedy has given you. Not everyone is capable of doing so. Faith is not desire. Faith is will. Desires are things that need to be satisfied, whereas will is a force. Will changes the space around us. Ever since time began, people have recognized their true love by the light in their eyes. Carry in your memory, for the rest of your life, the good things that came out of those difficulties. They will serve as a proof of your abilities and will give you confidence when you are faced by other obstacles. Temptation said that we all dream of committing crimes, but that only the imbalanced make that macabre idea reality. By sharing something, I realized that I'm not alone, that there are a lot of people that share with me the same preoccupations, the same ideas, the same ideals, and the same quest for meaning in this life. All we have to do is understand that we're all here for a reason, and to commit ourselves to that. Then we can laugh at our sufferings, large and small, and walk fearlessly, aware that each step has meaning. For the warrior of light, there is no such thing as an impossible love. He is not intimidated by silence, indifference, or rejection. He knows that, behind the mask of ice that people wear, there beats a heart of fire. Without love, he is nothing. Love cannot exist in peace. It will always come accompanied by agonies, ecstasies, intense joys, and profound sadnesses. Each human being has been granted a virtue, the capacity to choose. For he who does not use this virtue, it becomes a curse, and others will always choose for him. In real life, love has to be passable. Even if it is not returned right away, love can only survive when the hope exists that you will be able to win over the person you desire. And with the passing years, what had once seemed like a miracle or the luckiest of chances, and which he had always promised himself he would never become enslaved by, has gradually become his sole reason to go on living. Telling the truth and making someone cry is better than telling a lie and making someone smile. It is always important to know when something has reached its end. Closing circles, shutting doors, finishing chapters, it doesn't matter what we call it. What matters is to leave in the past those moments in life that are over.